Let's go back to functional medicine.
Yeah.
What does that actually mean?
So functional medicine is
compared to regular medicine.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if people listening really have a great understanding of like what's happening right now in science, but it's profound. That the shift that's happening in our understanding of the body it's like Columbus going, "Hey, the Earth isn't flat."
Wow.
And
right now, the last few years.
It's just like the last decade or two.
Okay.
With our understanding of the human genome, of systems biology, of the body as a biological network, as a system. It's like an ecosystem where everything's connected, working together. And so the way we organize medicine is according to these organs. You've got your cardiovascular system, your neurologic system, your GI system, and so you go to all these specialists. Right. And everybody treats their part of your body. If you have a migraine, we're actually learning that it might be related to gut flora, or if you have now we know that you might be getting cancer because of your gut bacteria. Well, no oncologist is asking you what's going on in your gut microbiome.
Right.
And so now we know, for example, like the microbiome is a great example of this disruption that's happening in healthcare. The microbiome, which is your gut flora, it's like 10 times as many cells as your own cells. It's 100 times as much DNA as your own DNA. Huh. So we're kind of lazy. We have about as much DNA as an earthworm.
Okay.
But we borrow the DNA of the microbes in our gut to do things for us. And we borrow things from plants to do things from us, like for example, glucosinolates. So the microbiome is this huge thing that's got 2 to 3 million genes. We only have 20,000 genes. And it regulates your weight. You can swap out poop from a thin person into someone with diabetes and reverse it. Right?
Wow.
Amazing. We've seen people, I've heard stories of fecal transplants not only curing things like that, but autoimmune diseases and
really
Parkinson's and people with MS and like crazy stories that I'm starting to hear. And there's research now going on aggressively in looking at fecal transplants for all sorts of diseases.
It's transferring poop from one person to another.
Yes.
What is that? How do you do that?
Well,
what's that process?
Well, they collect the poop. There's actually
I've never heard of this.
Yeah, you've never heard of this?
Never heard of this.
Oh my God, this is huge. So the
what is it called?
Fecal transplant.
Okay.
FMT, fecal microbial transplant. The way it came about was some doctor had a bright idea that there was this condition called C. diff, which is an infection of the intestines that happens after antibiotics, is life-threatening. And there's a huge amount of people who are now resistant to antibiotics because of all the antibiotics in our feed and in the animal production. So the drugs don't work. People die.
Wow.
And somebody thought, well, gee, if I put the poop from a healthy person into a sick person, let's see what happens. And the doctor did it, and the person was cured like that.
Shut up.
98% effective. 98% effective.
So how do you do this? I don't understand this process.
You want to get into it?
Give me the 10.
We can do the visuals.
Yes.
So basically, they take a fecal transplant specimen, like a donor specimen from a healthy person, and they screen them for all sorts of diseases, and then they spin it up with some saline, and then they inject it in with a catheter or a colonoscope.
And then
they actually also
it just heals inside, or what's it do when it's?
Well, it goes in. It's like massive probiotics, right?
Oh, interesting.
Right? Yeah, and so
it's like an infusion of probiotics.
And also there are actually pills now. They actually are making special encapsulated poop pills. And it's not. I mean, this is published in the New England Journal of Medicine. I'm not talking about like stuff that's wacky. I'm talking about serious medicine that people are doing. But it's not just for that. Now they're looking at it for all sorts of things. So
and people are cured right after one infusion.
Yeah, it's amazing. So functional medicine is really understanding the body as a system and network, and understanding that the focus should not be on treating disease, but on creating health. So it's the science of creating health. It's the ultimate biohacking tool. And it's interpreting all the data and the stories from your body that it tells through testing we do. For example, you don't have to do testing, but you can look into the body and look at your immune function and allergies and your gut flora and toxins and nutritional status. It's like doing a soil sample. So I'm like a soil farmer, organic soil farmer, rather than an industrial agriculturist. I don't put all these chemicals on my plants to make them better, like herbicides and pesticides. I create a healthy soil, and then disease doesn't occur, right? Disease can't land in a healthy soil.
Right.
So that's exactly what functional medicine is. We help people get in balance. We take away the things that cause imbalance. We put in the things that help create balance. So, for example, I had a woman come. She had a whole list of problems. That's why I call myself a holistic doctor, because I take care of people with a whole list of problems. So she had like psoriatic arthritis, was on a drug that cost $30,000.
Oh, my gosh.
Called Stelara. and still was miserable. She also was overweight, had prediabetes, migraines, sinus problems, irritable bowel, reflux, depression, insomnia. She had like this whole list of things. Of course, she saw all these specialists: the sinus doctor, the migraine doctor, the autoimmune doctor, the skin doctor, the depression doctor, the gut doctor. Like, and everybody's treating her with their best practices.
Their best drug, probably.
But I mean, she's being seen at a top medical center.
Yeah.
Right? They're not doing bad medicine. They're doing standard of care. In fact, they're doing excellent standard of care.
Right.
But the standard of care is not the way we're going to fix these problems.
It's outdated, or it's not.
It's not. It's totally outdated. So rather than thinking about how all these were separate, I thought, how are these all connected?
Interesting.
Right? How are these all connected? And so there were connections. It was all inflammatory. And I said, well, why don't we put you on an anti-inflammatory, low glycemic diet, the Pegan diet, basically.
Right.
Took away anti-allergens, and I cleaned out her gut because her gut was causing huge symptoms of bloating, and she had yeast reactions. She had like vaginal yeast and anal yeast and itching and itchy ears and yeast everywhere.
From the
yeast on her mouth and thrush. And so I gave her an antifungal. I gave her stuff to clear out the bad bugs in her gut. I put in good bugs. I put in enzymes. I put in things to heal the gut lining. I gave her fish oil, vitamin D, just some basic stuff, probiotics.
Yeah, but it's really eliminating
the bad foods, eliminating the bad bugs in her gut,
and putting
in new bugs, and putting in nutrients to help her body heal. 2 months later, she comes back completely symptom-free.
No way.
No more arthritis. No more $30,000 drug. No more skin psoriasis. No migraines. No sinus problems. No irritable bowel. No reflux. No depression. No insomnia. And she lost 20 pounds.
It was all from food.
Totally. And what was food and her gut flora?
Right.
I focused on her gut flora. Why? Because 60% or 50% of the immune system is in the gut.
Interesting.
Yeah, why? Why is it in the gut? Why is it there? Because you're sticking pounds of food, of foreign material every day in your body.
It's got to fight it off in your gut first,
and you've got, you've got all like bugs in there and poop. Right. It's like the danger zone, right? It's like you're like, and it's one cell away. Like you're one cell away from a sewer every minute.
Really?
Yeah, it's one cell between you and that mass of food and poop, right? So your immune system is like, if anything happens, like right there. Wow. So when people have autoimmune disease, it's often a gut issue. It's often a gut issue.
People didn't know this before, did they?
No. So now all this is really coming to light, and functional medicine is the operating system to interpret the data. It's a new set of lenses to think about how to solve it, and it's a system of treatment that helps people get back in balance.
Gotcha.
That's what's powerful. And then at Cleveland Clinic, the CEO of Cleveland Clinic, Toby Cosgrove, I call him the Wayne Gretzky of healthcare. He goes where the puck's going to be, not where it is.
Smart.
Right? And he's basically came after me to go set up a center there. And I'm
functional medicine center.
Yeah, I'm like, I'm not going to Cleveland Clinic. It's like it's like, I'm not going to go to a place where I'm going to have to bang my head against the wall, where it's traditional medicine, where they don't get this, where they're in the dark ages.
It's also known as one of the top hospitals in the world.
Of course, but it's the
right?
top hospital in the old model.
Yes.
Right? So I'm like, but he knows what's happening.
He sees where it's going.
He knows what's happening. He's like, we need this here.
Wow.
And so he's investing tons of money, millions and millions of dollars, building this. We're building an 18,000 square foot facility. We started with a little space and we just outgrew it. We're hiring doctors. I have an interview with the doctor right after this. And we're basically growing. We're doing research in all sorts of conditions. We're changing medical school education. We're changing policy. We're doing community work.
Amazing.
So he's really putting us on the map in the traditional world. And
because he's going to go out of business if he doesn't start doing this.
But what's amazing to me, Louis, I thought when I got there, people would be, skeptical, negative, make it difficult for me and my team there. But it's the opposite. And they want
to learn.
Last week when I was there, I had 2 deans of medical schools, 2 chairs of institutes, which are like big deals,
right,
and another doctor as patients.
No way.
Yeah, they're coming as patients.
Because they're not being cured with the medicine.
The executive team, the C-suite team, is sending all their family members to come see us.
Do you know Dr. Lissa Rankin, by any chance?
Yeah.
She's been on as well, and she talked about how she had all this medication she was treating herself, and then started just saying, let me just change the way I eat and my relationships and my emotional health.
Exactly. It's all.
And she's I got off all the medicine.
That's right.
And then I stopped giving medicine to my patients. Right. I started asking them deeper questions.
It's so powerful. So we're at this. We're at this fulcrum. It's not just I'm like one lone doctor with a crazy idea. There's a whole movement going on here. Yeah. And we had dinner with James Maskell. He's helping move that movement forward. I'm the chairman of the Institute for Functional Medicine, where we train doctors all over the world in this model, an operating system of how to actually do this in practice. So we are literally building an army of doctors that change healthcare, and it's pretty exciting, and it's actually starting to really hit that hockey stick point where it's changing.
Amazing.
People want it. I mean, people are desperate for this model.
So if someone is listening and they're on some type of medication, or they're just feeling like constantly sick, something's constantly happening to them, what do you think is, because there's so much information online that it's scary.
It's scary, right?
Well, here's what I would say. Stuff, just like looking up anything and Googling it and seeing all the nasty photos and just like, what is an approach that someone should take if they have some challenge that's constantly happening in their health? Should they first analyze the food they're intaking and do like an analysis? Do you have like a process?
Absolutely. It's a great question, Louis. So, what I am is a doctor. And what I do is see patients in my office. That's my main job. Yes, I've written a dozen books. Yes, I do a lot of stuff, but that's my main job.
Yeah.
And so I've learned over 30 years of doing this how to create sustainable, practical programs to help people get from sick to well very quickly. And what I've done, because not everybody can come see me, and there aren't that many of us out there yet.
You have so many hours in a day.
And there's not that many functional medicine. So I've written books and programs to help people operationalize this in their own life. So eat fat, get thin. And I'm, I could say, do my program, but I don't really care what program you do, as long as it's based on the basic principles. And there are a lot of my colleagues who are writing great books about this. It's all the same information because it's all the same science. And if you're telling the truth, there's only one story here, the truth, right? And so this Eat Fat, Get Thin is a great program that I put together to make people have no friction. It's easy. It's very straightforward.
It's 21 days,
21 days, practical, goof-proof, and it tells you what to eat. And when you get to the end of that, you'll see how you feel, because most people in 21 days will change their habits, but they'll also allow their body to reset. It's like putting your body back to its original factory settings, right? And then if something's left over, then gee, maybe I need to go deeper. Like if you still don't feel great, maybe you have Lyme disease. Maybe you have heavy metal poisoning. Maybe your thyroid's not working. Maybe you have a parasite. Maybe, you could be eating the perfect diet but still feel bad. So
do the 21 days first.
Yeah, but 80% of the time,
you're going to cure yourself.
80%. I mean, 80% of the time, this works for people, and then the 20% who have to get extra help, they need to come see somebody.
And the body's pretty incredible in how it can heal itself very quickly once you change habits, right?
Unbelievable. We did the survey of 1,000 people who did this. I mean, they lost weight, yes, and they lost inches, yes, and that's all impressive. And their blood sugar dropped 20 points, and their blood pressure 10 points. But the thing that really matters to me is I have everybody fill out what I call the FLC quiz. You know what that is? That's when you feel like crap.
Okay.
So it's a quiz. How do you do you have bloating? Do you have asthma? Do you have headaches? Can you sleep? Like joint pain, muscle pain? What's your mood? Are you depressed? So you fill this whole score and 0 to 4 for every symptom, and you get a score. They do one before and after. And the before and after score, there was a 69% reduction in all symptoms from all diseases.
Whoa.
Because you don't have to treat everything individually. If you put in the right information, like I said at the beginning of the show, the body knows what to do.
Wow.
Right? So the information in food is so powerful that if you figure out what to eat, you don't have to worry about how much. You don't have to count fat, grams, carbs, calories, nothing. I don't do that. I don't have time for that.
Right.
And I don't want to be on an app all day figuring it out. I just want to know how to get my body to naturally do what it's supposed to do.
Sure.
Right? If you're off by 100 calories a day, you're going to gain like 50 pounds in 30 years. Right? You can't do it by willpower. You have to use science. And the science of using fat and low glycemic food, like low sugar food, is really powerful. It's magical. Right. I mean, I noticed my own body. I'm like 56, and I noticed
you look young, man. You look fit, healthy, energetic.
No, well, I can tell you, I was always been focused on health, but I was the doctor who was trained to eat low fat and to tell my patients to eat low fat, and I did that. And I also ate a lot of things that I thought were healthy, like pasta was a health food.
Oh, my gosh.
Pasta was a health food.
I used to eat so much pasta.
Yeah, health food, right? Low fat.
Exhausted all the time.
Yeah, exactly. And so I basically changed that, and I started, eating a lot less starch, a lot less sugar, a lot more fat. And I noticed my body, like, without any exercise, I'm like so lean, so fit.
Yeah.
I'm like, wow, I got a six-pack and I didn't even work out. It's like, and it's just stunning what happens when you do. And my brain is clear. I have more energy. My mood's better. I mean, I saw you're drinking a bulletproof coffee. You know that it works.
Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, I started testing some different things at the beginning of this year in January. And the first week I did no sugar. The second week, no sugar, no gluten.
Yeah.
Third week, no sugar, no gluten, no dairy. Fourth week, no sugar, no gluten, no dairy, no meat. That was last week. And I was just to see what happened with my body.
Pulling a Band-Aid off slowly.
Yeah, I should have just done it all.
It's better to do it the other way. The way I do with my patients, you do a detox. Basically, you get off everything
at once.
You feel bad for a couple of days, and then you see how you feel.
I feel amazing, yeah.
Because one of the rules of...
I should have talked to you before this about what I was thinking.
And then you can add things back one at a time and see what bothers you.
Interesting.
So, because the rule in functional medicine is if you're standing on a tack, it takes a lot of aspirin to make it feel better, right? So if something's bothering you, you have to get rid of the cause. But if you're standing on two tacks, taking one out doesn't make you 50% better.
Very interesting.
So if you're allergic to dairy and gluten, but you just take out gluten, you're not going to feel better.
Right.
Right.
So I did it the whole wrong way. Oh, well. It was an experiment. But the thing what I was going to mention was I started doing bulletproof in the morning.
Yeah.
And fasting until 1:30.
Yeah.
And not eating after 9:30 or whatever it is at night. And I realized that I wasn't hungry in the mornings when I would do the coffee. And I would only have like half a cup only.
Yeah.
And I would be fine until 1:30, 2 o'clock.
Mct Oil Puts You in Ketosis, which is medium chain triglycerides. It's a super fuel. Comes from coconut, which is in the coffee. It's what I recommend as part of my Eat Fat, Get Thin program. Speeds up your metabolism. Even
you're burning fat.
Yeah, it actually makes your metabolism work faster and burn more calories.
Wow.
And it also affects your brain. So your brain is more alert, and focused, and clear. So I wrote most of Eat Fat, Get Thin on Mct Oil and coffee in the morning.
I love it. And why did you I want to ask you a few more questions. Why did you get into medicine in the first place? What inspired you 30 plus years ago or whenever this was?
Yeah. So, I actually majored in Buddhism at Cornell.
Wow.
So I did not even think remotely about medicine or science. In fact, I only took science classes because they were required for my degree at Cornell, but I didn't even do that well in them. I got a C in biology and I think a C in chemistry. I think I might have got a C plus in biology. But it was like the pre-med courses that everybody jumps off the bridge for.
Sure.
And I didn't take it that seriously. So then I got my degree in Buddhism. But when I studied Buddhism, I found that it was actually a healing system. It was a therapeutic system for the mind. And in fact, it was a way of looking at our perceptions, our beliefs, our attitudes, our thinking in such a way that freed us from suffering.
Right.
And it was powerful. And it also had a tradition of healing. All the doctors in the Buddhist tradition were monks. So I was like, oh, this is cool. And then I kind of got this idea in my head. I was a young idealistic kid, and I had this concept of a bodhisattva, which is this being who kind of betters himself. But rather than, going to be living in a cave and being by themselves and having a happy life, they come back in the service of others, to help others, also to reach enlightenment.
Right. Okay.
So I kind of always had that in my head. And I always felt better when I was of service.
Sure.
So when
most people feel better when they're in service.
Yeah.
Right?
It's interesting, Lewis, when we look at the science of this, altruism stimulates the same area in the brain as cocaine or sugar or heroin.
Crazy.
Right? So I get high from helping people.
I think Stephen Kotler talks about that in his book about flow.
It's so true.
When people get into flow, and when they're in service, you become in flow, and that triggers the same type of chemicals, right?
Absolutely. You get out of your head. Like I went to Haiti after the earthquake and was, up to my elbows in pus and amputations and blood and disaster, and just it was like the worst scene you could imagine. But like I didn't think of myself for 1 second.
Right. Just in service.
I was just in service, and I felt good. Like I felt, and I'm like, just grateful and happy. Not happy like because I was there. I was in a miserable place that was happening with the earthquake. But I actually had this sense of inner peace and inner happiness and
like your life
gratitude and service. And I think that's really. In the way, it's a little selfish.
Sure. No, giving is like the most selfish gift you can receive. It's like the best gift you can give.
Yeah. So that's sort of how I got. And then I realized, maybe I should practice medicine because it's about healing. And And I sort of said, well, I'll try it. And I was a yoga teacher before I was a doctor.
Wow.
And
back before yoga was cool.
Yeah, that was like in 1979.
Wow.
Took my first yoga class, and
amazing.
I just went to yoga before I came here, so it's been going on a long time.
Holy cow, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, a couple final questions, and I want to make sure everyone gets this book, Eat Fat, Get Thin, Why the Fat We Eat is the key to sustained weight loss and vibrant health. Essentially what everything we've said growing up is the opposite of what we were told.
Sorry, guys. We kind of blew it.
But eat fat, get thin. 21-day process for discovering, and healing yourself, essentially.
Yeah. I mean, it's not just for weight loss. It's actually for anybody who wants to reset their system.
Interesting.
And gain back control of their body. And so you actually naturally want the things that make you feel good, that you don't crave the bad things, that it's not difficult. I mean, you can't use willpower. It doesn't work. You have to use science, right? And it's so great.
I like it. I got 3 questions for you. One is, if you had an unlimited amount of money that you could spend on one thing to cure one thing in the world, what would that be?
One disease or one
thing in the world that you think needs curing, or solving one issue?
Oof, gosh, I mean, so many things flooded into me when you said that. I mean, I think the thing that I think is driving so many of our economic and social ills is our food system. And if I had a magic wand, I would put in I'm working actually on a petition right now. I've got 150,000 people on our Fat Summit, which is an online summit and we're going to interview over 30 experts on fat. And it's available. Anybody can go to fatsummit.com and get to see this. Yeah. And to kind of list what are the policies that would really radically change things, not just in America, but around the world if we became the beacon for this. And I met with the Surgeon General a couple of days ago, and he asked me to come to Washington to help change and shape this policy. So the things that matter are, ending ending agricultural subsidies for commodity products like corn, soy, and wheat that go into all our processed industrial food, subsidizing fruits and vegetables and things that actually promote health. Yeah. Ending food marketing to kids. Right, we market junk food to kids. I think we're one of only 50 countries that we are one of the only countries that doesn't do this. 50 countries control food marketing to kids.
Really?
Regulated. Yeah. Us and Syria, are the only ones, I think.
Oh my gosh.
I would end all use of antibiotics in animal feed except in animal husbandry, except for treatment of disease. Full stop. I would have clear food labeling so that people know what they're eating. Is it good for you? Green. Is it maybe a little tricky? We'll eat with caution. Yellow. Is it bad for you? It might kill you. Red. Stop. Simple.
Like when you have cigarettes now, this will cause cancer. This will kill you.
And this is controversial, but I would put a tax on junk food and soda, which has been proven to work and reduce consumption. This was just done in Mexico. It was super effective. Done in Berkeley, first place in America. Very effective.
Interesting.
It's like cigarettes. Yeah. Tax cigarettes. If a Coke was actually $10, I would actually make things cost what they really cost. The only reason a McDonald's meal is so cheap is because the government pays for it and subsidizes it.
Really?
I met with the vice chair of Pepsi. He said, "Why are you using high fructose corn syrup in your soda?" He says, "Because, Mark, the government makes it so cheap for us by subsidizing agriculture and the growing of corn that's turned into high fructose corn syrup. That's why we're using it. It's good business. I wouldn't use it if the government didn't make it so cheap." So I would end subsidies.
Oh my gosh.
I would end any food that wasn't promoting health in any federally funded program. Food stamps. You can buy $4 billion now of food stamps are spent on soda for the poor. $4 billion. Oh. It's the biggest single amount of item that's bought.
Yeah, soda.
Yeah. You can buy a 2-liter bottle of soda, but you can't buy a rotisserie chicken. You can't buy with food stamps online because of some stupid regulation. We're trying to change that. Wow. So I would implement a whole series of policies like this. I would also make sure that we really promote science and nutrition in school, so kids know very early on what's going on. There should be no food that doesn't promote health in schools. We know that there's clear evidence that kids who are fed poor foods, and I'm not talking about like school lunches that are quote healthy, right? I mean, pizza is considered a vegetable.
Pizza,
right? Pizza is a vegetable. According to Congress, pizza is a vegetable.
Oh my gosh, that's all I ate every day.
Yeah. And so we need just really clear policies that we could change all this in America. And I think people are ready for it. People want it. People know the issue is here. We need to end the kinds of industrial agriculture we're doing that are actually promoting degradation of the environment. And we need to label GMOs because the centralization of seed production has caused huge problems. Glyphosate is now Roundup is used on soybeans. 98% of soybeans are Monsanto soybeans.
98%?
I think it's something like 98% of world.
Gosh.
So the centralization of seed production, and then it's made, even if you debate GMOs are good or bad, they're using all this pesticides and herbicides.
Yeah.
Because of these that are actually now getting into the water. Now we know that glyphosate now, according to the World Health Organization and an International Board of Scientists, is a cancer-causing agent. which is, and I'm excited because in my practice, I'm going to start doing glyphosate testing.
Okay.
I can see people, because people don't know what they're consuming. So I would do a series of things that would really, if I had all the money in the world, to really change this. Wow. Michael Bloomberg, he sort of tried to do this. He had all the money in the world, and he made huge policy changes in New York. He got rid of trans fats. He changed all kinds of food laws. He actually started to try to regulate soda, but the food industry came down so hard on him.
So much money they had to, yeah. Wow.
We look at the root causes of disease, and there are many, right? There's environment, there's lifestyle, there's genetics, all affect these various systems in your body, right? But by far, the biggest cause is food, by far. And it affects, what's amazing is it's not just like a little bit.